Mr. Goldberg, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Madam Ranking Member as well. It's an honor to be here, and I wish it was under better circumstances. As I reflect on what we've all been through in watching what has happened in Israel and this incredible massacre that we watched, this horrific event, as Jason just said, the largest massacre of Jews since the Holocaust, we think about all the assumptions that we've carried with us. And Madam Ranking Member, let me just say, I'm not here for a blame game. I have written extensively on these issues. I've criticized the administration. I believe strongly in certain policies. But what I believe today is it's a moment to reset assumptions. Those are not my words. It's a Democratic member of Congress who sat on a panel with me last week at FDD. And he said, it's time to reset our assumptions. I think that's very true. And this is a moment to restore bipartisanship on issues that used to be completely bipartisan and can be again. This is a moment. If this is not going to be the moment, I don't know what will be. What are those assumptions? That Hamas, if left with the opportunity, will moderate, will suddenly become a governing force in Gaza? That if we empower other states to sponsor them, to enable them, to host them in their countries, they will become a moderating force? That's behind us. That assumption is gone. Anybody who believed and subscribed to that for years with good intentions, that's over. The Qataris and the Turks need to be held accountable. We can't sit here today and empower countries to host Hamas leaders, to give them money, to give them ideological support, to use their media, their state media, to amplify their propaganda and disinformation. It has to stop. We have to put these countries to a choice, and we have the economic tools to do just that. When we have assumptions as far as whether Hamas continues to operate in the United States to raise money here, we remember 20-some years ago the cases against Holy Land Foundation, the Islamic Association for Palestine. We think these are things of the past, that if we see Students for Justice in Palestine, American Muslims for Palestine, these organizations active throughout the country right now, we see these pro-Hamas demonstrations, and we think there's nothing behind that. We've done a lot of research for several years at FDD on these organizations. We have a lot of new information as well. Things that the Justice Department, the Treasury Department, and Congress needs to take a look at. Where is the money coming from? Who are the connections? Where are people traveling to? We've had assumptions about Hezbollah, that we can just ignore Hezbollah in our own backyard in Latin America and the Western Hemisphere. We have our Border Patrol telling us Iranians are showing up at the border. Hezbollah is active in the tri-border area, making money on a whole range of illicit activities, including cigarette trafficking. What are we doing about it? We have laws. This Congress has passed 2 laws to crack down on Hezbollah. We need enforcement of those sanctions alongside any new sanctions we're going to put on Hamas. We've had assumptions coming out from some in Washington that if we open up cash availability to the Islamic Republic of Iran, the chief sponsor, the chief terror sponsor of Hamas, complicit in this massacre, that somehow Iran will moderate, that it's okay to open the valve for money to flow to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps that trains, equips, supplies, funds Hamas and other terrorist organizations to carry out this massacre, because at least they'll slow down that expansion of the nuclear program. We'll buy some time before they go to 90% weapons-grade uranium production, all while encouraging this regime, emboldening this regime, and giving it the resources to pour more money into terrorism. No blame games here. Action, bipartisan action. Lock down the money. Lock down the $6 billion. Don't forget about the $10 billion that was made available over the summer, transferred out of Iraq to Oman. We have no information on that money today. What has happened to that money? We talk about the $6 billion because the hostage deal was exciting in the news. Talk to me about the $10 billion and more money, because every single month Iraq continues to make electricity payments to Iran into those accounts. Lock it down. You can do that if the administration won't. Turn the screws on oil sanctions enforcement. I wrote those laws as a staffer. They're not permissive unless you issue a national security waiver. They're mandatory. It says shall, not may in the law. You need to turn the screws as Congress on a bipartisan basis and say, crack down on the oil shipments from Tehran to China. And finally, let me say, we have to reevaluate the way we deliver aid into Gaza. We believe that if we just wrote checks to UNRWA for years, the United Nations, that doesn't recognize Hamas as a terrorist organization, that money would make it to the people, not to Hamas. We know that's not true. Mr. Chairman, I look forward to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Goldberg. Appreciate your passion and your information today. That was good.